Welcome to the world and the way it is. This is Leon D. I'm not an expert at anything, but I got a lot of life experiences, and what I'm going to tell you is going to be facts. You can either accept it or not accept it, but it is the way it is. Let's get it started.
Hello, family. Let's talk about barbecuing. See, I'm a barbecuologist, but there's some things that people get wrong, wrong, and wrong. And see, now, when you invite me to your house for a barbecue, you got to use the right words to get my attention. You see, you got barbecue, you got smoking, and you got grilling. I'm going to break down to you how all three work because a lot of you don't know how it works and you say the wrong words, and then when people don't come, you act like you're surprised. Because see, if you invite me over and you say, "Hey, I'm gonna do some grilling," I'm not coming. Because see, grilling is when you when you cook food over direct heat at a high temperature, like a steak or something like that. That doesn't turn me on. Anybody can use a stove or oven, more or less. That's not me. But for a lot of people, that's what they do. That's what they know. That's what they're good at. Put it on 500 degrees, let it sear for a second, and you're all good. That's not me. See, the food I love and the food I like. But let's go back to grilling one more time. Grilling, you have those kind of side dishes like asparagus. You have squash. Nah, that's not me. It's not what my stomach's calling for on a Saturday. But when you say, "Okay, I grill," he didn't come. So now you say barbecue. Barbecue really is when you grill food and you smoke food and you add the sauce to it. Now you got a barbecue. Because barbecue is about the sauces. Now, also barbecues is normally something you do over high heat. See, now me, I'm about smoking. That is slow cooked food. I don't like sharing it with a lot of people, but smoking is what I'm about. That's where the temperature very seldom, no matter what you're cooking, goes over 300 degrees. And personally, smoking, the lower the temperature, the more smoke is produced. I like smoky food. Now, I know some of you people don't really know what smoking is. When you get around 225 or something like that, now you're smoking food. 250, yeah. But if you put it at 180, it generates a lot of smoke, whether it's charcoal, whether it's pellets, whether it's coal. It really doesn't matter. See, now me, I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't know. There's two ways to smoke food. You got hot smoke, you got cold smoke. It's a difference in the two. Now, almost everybody does hot smoke. That's what competitors do. That's what the restaurants do. That's hot smoke. You also got cold smoke. Cold smoke is when the food has already been prepared or cooked prior to you cooking the food. Now, I've never bought any food that was cooked before I got to it, unless it's at a fast food restaurant, and I don't cook that once I get it. I just eat it. But I'm not big on restaurants anyway. One reason I'm not big on restaurants is because sanitary reasons. But what I like to do, hot smoke, buy my meat raw, take it to the right temperatures, and then then you're cooking the food, then the food's done. And one thing I don't like, do not add sauce to my food, to my barbecue. Let me add my own sauce because you don't know what I like. You don't know how much sauce I want on my food. A lot of people assume that everybody wants 5 pounds of sauce on one rib bone. Not I. But let me tell you something too. When you go to a restaurant, you can find out if that food was pre-cooked. In other words, it came packaged from the distributor already. Go into a restaurant and you don't see a smoker, you don't see a grill or anything out back or in the restaurant, and order ribs and tell them you don't want sauce on it. They're going to tell you you got to get sauce on it because now it's not the waiter's. It is not the waiter's fault, but they don't know the food came already prepared from the distributor. In other words, they got one distributor and he's cooking the barbecue in a stove. He's not cooking it in on a smoker or anything like that. And the reason why, because he can cook a massive amount of meat, and the way he gets the smoke flavored there, he adds liquid smoke. Liquid smoke to me is just nasty, nasty, nasty. I tried it one time, and it's kind of like drinking something that tastes really, really bad. And they don't know how much liquid smoke to put in there. If I order barbecue, I want to see a smoker out back, preferably. Now, don't get me wrong, some restaurants have smokers in their restaurants, but that's all for quick cooking. And they got charcoals or whatever, but I like low and slow. To me, that's smoking food. And if it takes you 3-4 hours to get it right, oh well. I had a friend one time tell me, he said, hey man, I did ribs in 45 minutes on my smoker. I said, hey man, I don't want any. When you smoke food, you can't rush the process. And you also can't rush the seasoning seeking into the meat to bring out the best flavors. So, when people tell you how quick they cook low and slow, they just defeated the whole word of slow. Slow is meant to be just that, slow. So, when I want low and slow, I dedicate the entire day to doing just that. I don't go there and say, the brisket is going to take 6 hours. You have a mental idea, but sometimes what you forget about, the weather, that's a big contributor to how long it's going to take to cook something low and slow. You cannot put food on 250 and it's 95 degrees and then put it on 250 when it's 30 degrees, which I would never do. But even when it's a low temperature outside, or if it's raining or snowing, that changes the length of time it takes to cook any food. That changes the length. So you may do it in 5-6 hours, ribs at 275, but when the temperature is definitely different, you can't do that. I don't want you rushing your food to give to me. I'd rather get food late and have it taste good than to get it early and it's raw or not done properly. Now, me personally, I'm not a big marinade person, but I'm not against that either when it comes to barbecue food or, low and slow. But I like to put the seasoning on the night before, take it out the next day, and let it get to almost room temperature, and then put it on the smoker. That's me. I don't like cooking cold meat. I never have. You can't go from a freezer to a smoker. It's just nasty. So I like to get mine to near room temperature and then put it on the smoker. Now, some of you people, I don't understand how you have friends and you invite them over to your house for a barbecue or you cooking food. Because to be honest about it, some of you just can't cook. And your friends will tell you the food is good because your friends is eating free food. Free food have a different taste than when you pay for it. Caterers got to get it right. But if you listen to me, I will tell you how to keep your friends. Because all you got to do, and DJ Leon is going to tell you this, prep is where the work is. It don't take much effort to cook the food. It takes the effort to prep the food. So prepping the food is that's where the work is. That's the key. You got to have the right seasoning. And for some of you really, really good amateurs, buy all your stuff you need before you start prepping and decided, I need some brown sugar. Have all that already. Make a list. If you don't make a list, you make your food the same way, your barbecue the same way every time, have that list, and then you go and you make sure you go to the store, and the store has your list. I mean, they have the things you want. You want to make sure of all that. But don't start and then start thinking about what you need. Think about what you need before you start. Now, I know some of you just grab anything you got in the house. You got McCormick seasoning and all this and all that. No, no, no. I don't use a lot of seasoning that comes from the big, season makers and all this kind of stuff. I like to go to a lot of specialty shops. It's a couple that I use, and they sell their stuff in stores, but they're not in every store. Each chain have their favorite or cheapest, supplier of ingredients. So I like to try different things until I get the one I want. And some people make their own seasoning. I did that a couple times, and here's the problem: when you make your own seasoning, I cannot make one that I cannot add to existing seasoning I had to give me the same taste or close enough. So the whole thing is, when you invite friends over, have your meat ready to come off the smoker or off the grill. Have your meat ready to come off. Don't be putting meat on when the company's there. Now, this is a 5-minute burger. But when it comes to barbecue, you're doing chicken, you're doing ribs, you're doing pulled pork, and you're doing brisket. That should already be done when they arrive. When I go, I don't want to see you prepping or see you putting food on the smoker. Because if you do it low and slow, you now just added, like ribs, you added 6 hours to my day. And brisket takes, usually an hour per pound around, if a brisket weighs 12 pounds, it normally takes 12 to 16 hours. That's when I say weigh, that's before you trim whatever excess you don't want on the brisket. So don't invite me over and say, I'm putting the brisket on and expect for me to eat it the same day or eat it at midnight. That's not how it's going to work. I like to look at it when you finish it. Now let's start slicing it up. But you got to let it rest. All meats has to rest. I've been to people's house and they take it off and they're eating it right away. If your mouth can handle that, generally, it didn't get to 200 degrees. It didn't get to the right temperature. So you got to think to yourself, your friends may not notice, but a barbecueologist like myself, I'm going to know all this. I'm going to notice that. So I tell people, if you want the best food, prep before I get there and have it almost ready to come off the grill. If I invite you over for 12 o'clock to eat barbecue food or something off my smoker, I promise you, I got up early that morning and started the smoker with the meat. One other thing, too, I've seen people do with the new grills, especially the pellet grills and the pellet smokers. One thing I see them do a lot, and it kind of baffles me. They like to turn the pellet smoker on, and it takes a couple minutes before it goes from 0 to, say, 250. They put the meat on before it reaches 250. I don't do that. Your food cooks a little faster, but I let it get to my desired temperature, then I put on the meat. If you don't do that, you're gonna have the food on there while the temperature's ramping up. It's not cooking food at that point. It's heating the food. I want mine to start smoking right away, and I want it to start cooking right away. So I get to the temperature, and it's ready to go. So when you think about what you're doing, because almost all of you do it wrong. You think about what you're doing. You want to get the meat to room temperature, and then you want to have the temperature of your grill or smoker at the desired temperature you want to cook at, not heat at. So when you got it going from 0 to 250 and your meat's on there, you're heating the food up. Also, don't have ice in your meat. I was at a guy's house and he took some food out of his, out of the freezer. And he goes, well, if I put it on the smoker, it's gonna melt the ice. And I said, yeah. And a few other things too. But at the same time, if I come to your house for a barbecue and I don't eat, it's because I've seen a lot of things that I can't accept. Now, your friends, they're going to eat it because it's free. Your kids and your family's going to eat it because they have no damn choice. Or they're used to eating it the way you cook it because they've had it for so many years and their body has morphed into the food they're going to intake. So they don't mind all that. I have a major problem out of all that. But also I've seen people cook, especially in England, which is nasty to me. They put the meat right directly on the coal with no grate in between. They put it directly on the coal. To me, you may as well be smoking or eating tobacco or eating a coal. That's how they do it in England. I don't know why or who taught them, but I guarantee you that person was not an American. I think they watched YouTube and they just forgot a couple steps. But it's like that, it's like down south. They're not into the pellet grills. They like still using their old coals and all that kind of stuff because they like big smokers because they can do whole hogs. I'm fine with that, but that takes a lot of work. You got to be stoking the fire, trying to regulate the wind. You get a pellet. You put it on temperature, you walk away for hours and you get to go. The other thing too, I was telling you about the meat on the barbecue. I'm still trying to figure out why people season the bone side of the ribs. Because there's no meat there. It's just a bone. So I do just the meat side. Not only do you save a lot of seasoning, that's just me. But I guess some people who don't have teeth like to lick the bones and taste the seasoning on there. Because you need teeth to eat the meat with. So, saying all that, invite me to your barbecue and I'll tell you how to do it properly. Everybody got their own way, their own style. At the end of the day, do your food taste the way you think it should taste? And you're going to say yes. But ask somebody who's not eating for free. Try and sell a plate and see if that works for you. Because people are very rude when they're paying for a service. They are not so rude when it's free. And tell your boys to be upfront with you. Man, is this good or what? Tell them to be upfront with you. Because you always gonna have one person who's gonna tell you the truth. It may not be your best friend because he wants to keep eating free every weekend. He say, I want to eat every weekend for free. But tell you what, none of my friends like that. They'll tell you real quick that, hey, this need more of this, more of that. But that's for their taste buds. And nothing wrong with that for their taste buds. Like me, I don't like a lot of salt on anything I cook. But I got friends who put salt on food before they even take the first bite and see how it's seasoning. Because the reason I don't like a lot of salt on food, because every seasoning I use has salt in it. So there's no need for me to add additional salt to it. The salt is already there. But at the same time, I got a salt shaker, and if you want to add more salt to it. This is the difference between grilling, smoking, and doing open fire cooking. This is your boy Leon D. This is another episode. We hit you up in a couple days. Peace.